Hi, Quentin. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you so much, Robert. How's your day going?
Very good. It's a pleasure to reconnect, with you. We had dinner in Vancouver last week, but this morning, news from Westpoint Gold. The symbol is WPG on the TSX-V, and the news includes 42.8 meters of 2.5 grams per ton gold, including 11.7 meters of almost 6 grams per ton at the Gold Chain project in Arizona. It's a very interesting location because it's in the Walker Lane Trend, which is an area of the West that I know very well. Some of the biggest gold finds of the last several decades have occurred in the Walker Lane Trend. So let's start with the high level. Tell us about the company and how this project came about.
Well, the company is a land package that was put together by our predecessor, Gold 79, in 2020. They worked it through 2021, through uh, middle part of the year, last year, 2024. The land package around Gold Chain is really where the primary focus is at this time and going forward. There's three projects in Nevada, which are the primary, the kind of flagship Nevada project is called Jefferson Canyon, which is 7 kilometers due east of Round Mountain, which Kinross has been mining for a number of years. 20 million ounces, a massive mineralized ore body that's essentially being mined out. That would be what we would call the epitome of satellite mining with its proximity. And that project actually has a joint venture with Kinross. Well, they'll be spending the next $600,000 US on the next round of drilling there, which we're anticipating hopefully by the middle of the year, depending on permitting. And then there's two other projects, Jefferson North, which is 10 miles north of Round Mountain, and the third project is Tip Top, which is not too far from Tonopah to the southwest. Where we get interesting is on the southern eastern tip of the Walker Lane, which is just over the state line from Nevada into Arizona, like a mile or two, just south of Lake Mead. It is a land package that's historically productive in the 1905 to 1920 range. There was some small heap leach mining done in the 1980s, and this land package has been never put together before until our VP exploration, Rob Johansing, went in and did the groundwork in the late kind of 2016, 17, 18 range, bringing this land package together. Quite honestly, we firmly believe if this is so robust that had it been a couple of miles to the west on the Nevada side of the state line, it probably would already be a big mine. But the fact is Arizona is an area that has not had a lot of the work done at it that Nevada has, and that's about to change.
Northwest Arizona. I mean, I know that area for the Moss Mine, which is pretty close to Gold Chain, but it's not well known for much else in terms of gold mining.
Correct.
Tell us about Gold Chain and this morning's news. I mean, you basically, reported several holes from the 2024 campaign at Gold Chain. And some of the results really stood out to me for their relatively high grade and near surface gold. So you're talking about 4 or 5 grams per ton gold that is near surface. That's not something we see very often.
Yeah, that's exciting part about it. The grade is what tends to resonate with investors, but what's the most exciting part is there's a number of targets on this land package. At least from what we're even looking at before we've actually had a full chance to fully evaluate everything, we've got 6 different million ounce targets. Three of them are multi-million ounce targets. And the one where we're expending our capital and time right now is kind of what we're kind of calling the low-hanging fruit, which is where a lot of the historic mining was done. And that's called the Tyro vein structure, or the Tyro zone. And at Tyro, which is about 800 to 1,000 meters long, it's trending to the northeast from the southwest. It's approximately 50 meters wide, and we're presuming 300 meters deep, although it's never really been drilled to depth. So that structure has seen historic mining on it. When I mentioned some heap leach mining done in the 80s, that was actually done right at the center of this deposit. So we've got 400 meters northeast and southwest of structure that needs a lot of work. Now, Gold 79 drilled some of that in 2021 and 2023, and the flagship hole of that and their program was hole 28, which had an intercept 9 meters of 51 grams, and the entire intercept was 86 meters of 6 grams. So they've got this massive intercept that was really got a lot of attention. They put that out at early 2023. And at the time, we didn't have much of a gold equities market, and it didn't resonate too much to cause a material impact on the share price. They've done some of the other drilling in 2021 around the northern end of it, which had some really robust grades as well. So it was all RC drilling. And with the program that we funded and drilled 1,284 meters in November of 2024, last year, just on the verge of us rebranding ourselves as Westpoint Gold, which happened in December. Those are the results that you're seeing now. We put out 2 holes, 30 and 31, last week. Most notably, hole 30 was 52 meters of 1.5 grams. Within that was 36 meters of 2, and hole 31 had 50 meters of 0.53. So those 2 holes showed robust mineralization. So the key holes that were released this morning was hole 32, which was 60 meters of 1 gram and 0.35. And the one that we've been talking about is hole 34, which was 42 meters of 2.5 grams gold. Within that, there was 11.7 meters of almost 6 grams. And that was on 700 meters northeast of that hole 28 that I just mentioned, the one that was 9 grams of 51. So we've got a really good structure with lots of mineralization. Mineralization on that hole 34 started from surface. And so you're not going to be finding a lot of mines these days with 2.5 grams of oxide starting from surface. So that's a pretty robust hole. And that's as mentioned, this is where we're going to be focusing a lot of our drilling on the next program, which is scheduled to start in the middle of February.
So there were several holes where you commented that you're sampling more of these holes 30, 31, and 32. And can you explain to us why a portion of the holes were sampled first, and now you decided to sample the entire hole?
That's where it gets interesting, is historically it's never been core drilled. It's only been RC drilled. And the theory geologically was that there was a footwall on the left side and a hanging wall on the right side. And so the footwall was more of the hard stop, but the hanging wall, they didn't really have a good idea of where that was. So this is where this 3-dimensional structure concept of 30 meters to 50 meters by 800 came up, was that, okay, where's the hanging wall? So when it was core drilled, you'd never really seen the orientation of the rock, and that's what actually helped our geologist Rob Johansing actually figure out, okay, we went out, sent the assays in from what we thought was the hanging wall to the footwall, and that's what came back on hole 30 of 52 meters of 1.53, and then that really good intercept of 36 meters of 2. So what they did on that hole, which gets interesting, if you take a look at a cross section of that hole, which is in the press release, you'll see that higher up or closer to the surface, you've got 0.6 of 6.59 grams, and a little above that, you got 2.5 meters of almost 3 grams. That 28 meters from that 0.6 intercept of 6.5 grams to where they thought the hanging wall was 28 meters. That was not assayed. So that has now gone to the lab this week, arrived actually today. So what potentially that does is not only does it give us a broader mineralized intercept possibility, but also closer to the surface. And those of you that understand mining oxide, the closer you get to the surface, the better your strip ratio, which has a huge impact on the economics. So we're really interested to see what those results come back as. That was just hole 30. We've got 28 meters that needs to be assayed. On hole 31, we've got 23 meters that's been sent to the lab for infill assays. And then we've got hole 32 with 24 meters that was sent to the lab. So there's some, it's really interesting to see that we may be seeing much broader zones of mineralization when those come back.
So that's some good that's some good upside possibly in the near future from those three holes that are still pending assays for various sections of those three holes, 30, 31, and 32. I mean, I look at the grades of holes 29, 30, 31, 32, 34, and I look at the strike extent there. It's about 700 or 800 meters, between hole 29 and hole 34. I look at the grades in the holes, the depth, and it looks pretty good to me. I guess the main question is being able to prove some substantial scale here. So based upon the results that you've announced the last couple of months, where are you looking next to start to prove out some more scale at Tyro Main Zone?
Well, now that we have a better understanding of the mineralization from the core, in this system that's had 5 different events that set the system up as an epithermal system, only 3 of them were mineralized. So that's why the RC wasn't telling us everything we needed to know. We needed core. We have a better handle on that now. And if you look at the cross section that's on the PowerPoint, I guess I can just refer you to that if you can't see that on your screen. You've got a lot of drilling that's been done around the southern end and a lot more drilling that's been done around the northern end. What hasn't been drilled is a section in the middle, which is holes 30 and 31. We need to fill that in. So when you ask about where we're going, the RC program that's scheduled now to start in the next couple of weeks is essentially going to fill in that gap and make essentially the idea now is to have a resource able calculation come out of that. So we're going to presumably be roughly in the 50-meter centers in this program, and then essentially just drill off from between the north and the south, and hopefully tie all those mineralized intercepts together and actually have ourselves a maiden resource is the plan.
So RC program starting in February, and how large of a program are you expecting to do?
We're entering it with 3,000 meters in mind, and there's a potential to expand that depending on how that program evolves. But right now, we want to get those first holes out, the first 3,000 meters, and then obviously prepare to expand it as needed.
And in today's news, there was a mention of further expansion potential to the northeast. Is that going to be one of the priorities of this program?
Exactly, and that's better defined if you are able to take a look at the cross section that's on the PowerPoint slide 8. You can see that some of the drilling that was done by Gold 79 2021 around 34. These are all within 100 meters of 34. You've got hole 15 drill in 2021 with 21 meters of 2 grams, hole 16, 21 meters of 1.73, and hole 14, 35 meters of 1.6. These are all right in the vicinity of 34. And knowing that, that's not even including, we've got trench samples there, right there above at surface that are 7 meters of 4 and 4 meters of 7, 23 meters of 0.1. So it's mineralized from surface all the way, we're presumably deeper than that. And this is obviously what you want to see on an open pit heap leach type of situation or oxide situation as you're working north. So yeah, it's open to the northeast, and we're going to be trying to fill out some ounces for a model in that area.
Your screen is being shared right now, so you can
Okay,
show
so
that
I
slide.
did. Okay, sorry, apologize. I didn't realize that was actually showing, but that's great.
Okay, so let's talk about the overall property package. So the Tyro zone is 282 acres, and that's private patented claims. That you have a pretty extensive land package of over 7,000 acres,
Yes.
in total. Tell us about the overall property package.
Well, that's what's exciting about it, and this is why we like Arizona. You've got here in this image right here, these are the patented claims right around the structure. You can see Tyro right here, and these are some of our secondary targets that we'll be hopefully addressing later this year. Tyro is what I mentioned is our low-hanging fruit. The inset map here, this is the BLM package, so obviously it's a little tight on the patented side, but you've got lots of room in here on the BLM ground. So yeah, we control that whole district of 7,500 acres, and essentially that's more than enough of some really phenomenal opportunities for us to pursue.
So the focus right now is on Tyro, but is there a thought to doing some wildcat holes on the overall property package to test some of the targets that may not be as advanced stage?
Let me go to that map right here. So let me tell you what we're looking at right here, which is also this inset map gives you an idea of what the structure looks like. And these down here give you an idea of what historic, so over 100 years ago, you got a dump sample with almost 2 ounces right here. You got one with just an ounce here. All this is just waste rock sitting on the ground by a hole that's not been followed up in 100 years. So yeah, we see smoke here all over the land package that needs follow up. But to answer your question about wildcat holes, that is the most hotly debated topic internally for us to determine how to allocate our treasury towards developing to give us the best impact in the market. And we had a management site visit 2 weeks ago, and going into that, we had intended that we were going to put some quote unquote um, uh, early or wildcat holes, as you call them, into some of these other targets around primarily sunset and sunrise vein. You see them down here. These were our highest targets given their historic. We're standing on the site and you point at the rock, and it's, the geo said, yeah, I sampled that, it's 10 grams. And that was waste rock that's been sitting there 100 years. So we've one of the consulting geologists made a very good comment is that he said drill those targets, Frisco, Graben, and the ones to the south, when you have the treasury to drill 10 to 15 holes. If you drill 2 holes, you're going to get frustrated. I can guarantee you that. So when you've got the treasury to do it, follow up on those holes. But right now, focus on Tyro. That's your low hanging fruit. Those can give you the results. That can be the drive towards a maiden resource. So that's more or less where we're at right now. And I will caveat that's always subject to change. But right now, the focus is going to be that 3,000 meters is all going right into Tyro. And it's essentially it's maiden resource focus. But we've got some incredible smoking targets there that we need to address sooner than later.
So the focus on the drilling is 100% on Tyro Main Zone right now.
Correct.
But will you do some more sampling, mapping work on some of the other targets like the Sunrise Vein and the Banner Sheep Trail trend?
A lot of that's largely been done. But as we mentioned in the press release, it was, I think, page 4 of the press release or 3, we talked about hydrospectral work
Hmm.
that's going to be done. That's the stuff that's going to give us and generate more regional targets and hopefully improve our confidence. So there is some work to be done on the other targets from that. And actually, the information from Tyro is actually driving what will tell us about the rest of the district. So the answer to your question is yes, more work needs to be done, but a lot of this kind of the mapping and the surface stuff it's very well understood by Rob Johansing right now.
So there's some metallurgical work happening. The hyperspectral study is being done. So that's all happening in the background. phase two at Tyro, 3,000 meters of drilling starting in February. Now let's talk about the bigger picture, the location of the project. Okay, it's in the Walker Lane Trend. It's in Arizona. Uh, what's near the project? Is there road access to site? Can you fill in some more of those key details?
Well, those of you that don't know, we didn't really lead with this, but my background is with this company, this asset right there, which is Bullfrog, which was Corvus Gold. And that's where I spent 11 years of my professional life from 2010, 11, right up to 22. Anglo Gold Ashanti bought Corvus Gold at the beginning of 2022 for $570 million Canadian. And this asset, when they bought Corvus, was about a 4 million or just under 4 million ounce in two separate deposits. Anglo now has actually 16 million ounces there at two targets to the north. And so when you want to talk about what's going on in the Walker Lane district, as we mentioned at the start, you got Kinross's asset here around Mountain with 20 million ounces. This one's pushing that. And so this is the southern end of Nevada, which has not had anywhere near the kind of work that the Carlin Trend has, which everybody knows that basically made Barrick and Kinross. So here we are down on the southern end of the state, and you've got a very similar setting across the Walker Lane. And so when you talk about the infrastructures that's there, the town of Beaty, Nevada, which I spent 11 years at, was a couple of thousand people and a stop sign and maybe a subway, I think it was. So it's a tiny town that's now getting a massive amount of investment from Anglo because of the size of this mineralization. There is Anglo, who had left North America as a producer when they sold their only producing asset, Cripple Creek in Colorado, to Newmont 10 years ago. They're now back in, and this asset is Anglo Gold Ashanti's beachhead back into North America. So when you want to talk about Beatty, which was a town of a couple of thousand people, and comparing it to Bullhead, which is 43,000 people, it's just to the south, I guess more to the east of Lake Mead. You've got the water table, you've got a highway going past it, which you can see on the map there. You've got the town of Bullhead. We've got cell phone towers, power lines going right across the project here. So, and on top of that, we're in a district of Arizona that allows permitting and for mining, even as exemplified by the Moss mine to the south of us, which is a low-grade heap leach. However, BLM was able to have that permitted. And so we've got a really supportive BLM department here. And so, interestingly enough, we've all seen that Donald Trump's mandate that billion-dollar investments are not going to have any permitting issues. So not only do we have a good BLM department that's supportive, we've now got a mandate from the federal government for development as well. So as mentioned, these areas are just incredibly exciting, given all the existing infrastructure and the support we're going to be getting from the government bodies.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for mining in the U.S. I'm optimistic that these next few years are going to see some impactful changes and some progress. Maybe even some of the big mining projects that have been in limbo for a decade or more will actually finally get the green light. We'll see, but certainly a positive outlook, I would say. So so we've talked mainly about Gold Chain. Uh, tell us about the other projects the company holds, and are there any plans for the other three projects in 2025?
Well, the kind of the flagship other project is Jefferson Canyon, which, as you can see on the map I just pulled up, it's 7 kilometers due east of Round Mountain. Kinross, it's a JV. Kinross has the next $600,000 to spend, so it's not going to tax our treasury. Once they get drilling, they've agreed to give us data dumps every month, and we're allowed to press release what they give us was subject to their approval. And their earning on that is 5 million US would give them 70%, and 10 million would give them another 5, or total of 10 would give them 80% of that project. We're basically waiting for Kinross to get working on that. We're presuming it's and hoping that the permitting side will get sorted out by the summer. That's in their court right now, not ours. And so we're sitting back waiting for that to happen. The reason they're excited about that is those of you that know about Round Mountain know that the grade going through the mill right now is pretty low. And so the historic drilling that was done over here in B zone, you've got this wonderful hole, this GG81, 167 meters of almost 2 grams gold and lots of silver. They need grade, they need mineralization. And as I said, 7 kilometers away, that's not a very far trucking distance to a mill. And that's where we're presuming they're going to be putting their drill holes in as soon as they get that permit sorted out.
That's a
The other,
great intercept. Wow.
yeah, and the other 2 assets, I don't even have them on the PowerPoint, but I'll go back up to the top map, Jefferson North and Tip Top. Both of them have historic mining. There's some really good grade that came out of Tip Top on historic drilling in the 80s. But the fact of the matter is our focus is going to be on gold chain. And the Nevada assets are, we've got this model, what we're calling surround Round Mountain. I was actually introduced to this opportunity about 9 months ago, and I was told we've got this gold chain asset, and I looked at it, and light bulb went off. This is about as good an analogy if I've seen for Corvus anywhere. And then the surround Round Mountain. So Nevada is actually an important theater for us, but gold chain is where the work's going to be coming from, and I didn't want to overwhelm the investor community by saying we've got all these projects or have any kind of confusion as to where our focus is going to be, because our focus is going to be on gold chain. We've got more than enough to do just at Tyro, and even if we expand from Tyro, we've got this phenomenal asset to the target to the north called Frisco Graben, which has a very good analogy, I'm told by the geologists, to the Bullfrog project that Anglo has, and the ones to the south, which I was talking about some of the grades at surface. So the answer to your question is Nevada is interesting to us. It's an option to us, but the focus is really going to be entirely on gold chain.
All right. So this year is focused on gold chain completely. Final question. Let's talk about the share structure, company cash. Always important to get a hold of that for investors. So tell us about the share structure.
Well, the share structure is interesting because the deal was a merger between 2 public companies. One was Gold 79 with Ammo. Gold 79 earlier last year in 24 had rolled back 1 for 10, and Ammo was acquired with the Jefferson North asset for 1 for 3. So the blending of those 2 companies put just over 25 million shares out, and the valuation was around 15 cents to 20 cents. The financing that the impetus for the merger was that we were going to be able to raise at a minimum $4 million Canadian at 25 cents a share. And so that's the structure you see right there is based on the 25 cents a share raise, which now gives us a market cap of just over 20 million Canadian. And so you see issued and outstanding 65 million shares. You can see on the chart here that the through September, October, November, that was the financing period of 25 cents. So the stock was kind of trading in that 25 to 30 cent range while the financing was ongoing. And then subsequent to the financing closing, which would have been late November, the stock is kind of, as we all see, there was some year-end and tax loss selling that happened in December, and the stock has been climbing steadily into January. Although it's backed off a little bit, we found ourselves a fairly heavy seller. But as you know, in this business, right now we're just what I would call a mopping up exercise while we're getting our arms around the drill program and segueing into the second RC program, which is going to start in a couple of weeks. So you've got a lot of warrants there, which is where it gets interesting. On the next slide, you'll see that the 50 cent were the ones that came out of Gold 79, which is close to just over 2 million Canadian. And then the warrants of 30 cents are Ammo. And then the 26 warrants, 40 cents, are the ones that are from the financing we did in November and October. $10 million could be brought in by successfully bringing in those warrants. So we really see that as where we want to start to try to get some of that money in with the next round of work that we're going to be doing. So you got 24 million warrants there that would generate potentially $10 million for the treasury, and that would really fund us, because our goal is to have at least one RC rig working 24/7. So I'm not telling you 3,000 meters. I'm telling you we're going to keep figuring out Tyro, and then we've got some of those other targets to chase. So that's what we would ideally like to see happen in the coming months.
Okay, very good. So you're fully funded for the next phase of drilling at Gold Chain. When do you plan to announce the drill plan for this next phase of drilling?
Be around the middle of February is the aim, because the program is to start in February. So once we get that tied down, because we've only just got the core results in, the RC program hasn't been designed yet, and so
Mhm.
that's basically what the priority is right now, is to get that sorted out. We've got the drillers contracted now and to start in the middle of the month, and essentially all that's going to be coming down the pipe.
Fantastic. I look forward to coming out to site to see the project this spring, maybe March, maybe April. Thank you very much for your time and the introduction to the Westpoint Gold story. Thank you, Quentin.
All right. Thanks. Great talking to you, Robert. Have a great afternoon.
Cheers.